Taliban attack. Her survival was certainly against the odds.
Very good evening to you. You're still tuned to the Joy News channel, and this is Joint Caucus. My name is Nia Krofi Smatabe, and I bid you welcome to the show, the very first for the year 2013. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to the show tonight. We're looking at one main topic, the President's State of the Nation address, which he delivered to Parliament earlier this morning. He actually did do that in fulfillment of Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, which requires him to update Parliament on the state of the nation prior to its dissolution. So we will get to discuss that topic for the next 50 or so minutes left on the clock. Joining me to do that discussion in the studio is Kweku Kwarteng. He is the MP-elect for Obuasi West. Good evening to you, Kweku, and welcome.
Good evening.
And I believe congratulations are in order as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we'll also be joined somewhere along the line by Alhaji Abubakar Day. He is the MP for Salaga. He was billed to join us in the studio, but unfortunately he's been caught up in a meeting, so we may have to start without him, but we'll get back to him on the phone as and when he's available, and then we'll get to his inputs also on the show. So let's begin, and let me start with you, Kweku, since you are with me already in the studio. Were you able to listen or follow the State of the Nation address at all?
Yes, I did.
So what are your general impressions?
Well, before I go there, let me say once again, Happy New Year to my constituents, and to thank them again for the opportunity to represent them in Parliament. I did follow the address today. My impression is that it was a presentation made to just fulfill a constitutional obligation.
Okay.
Obviously, the president's heart wasn't in this exercise, because you look
why do you say his heart wasn't in it? Is it because it was brief?
It wasn't just brief. It just failed to tell us the state of things in this country. And therefore, it failed to be a State of the Nation's address. But as I said, well, the Constitution said he had to do it, and he decided to do it. Why the President did not take the opportunity to actually brief us on the state of the various interventions to deal clearly with some of the challenges we're facing as a country, it's one that I have difficulty appreciating.
But he did, some would say, scratch the surface of most of the sectors of the economy. For instance, let me read this portion of his address. It says, and today Ghana's GDP growth rates continue to be among the highest in the world, with a record-breaking growth of 2011, occasioned partly by the commencement of oil production. At least this touches on one part of the economy.
Yeah, and I mean, what you have read confirms the point I am making. To begin with, a State of the Nation address is supposed to be an address that explains the challenges we have to deal with as a people and the interventions we're using to deal with those challenges, the status of those interventions. And then also, of course, the President could have used the opportunity to tell us the opportunities that exist now in this country for both Ghanaians and development partners who may want to come here and invest. The President should use the occasion to present these so that we can equip ourselves better going forward.
But isn't it also...
if it is just as you have indicated, scratching the surface of the various sectors, then what are we doing? What do you achieve by that? And that is where I think the President could have done better. I mean, the constitutional framers did not put that requirement in the Constitution for the sake of it. It is important that we know clearly what the status of the various interventions to deal with the challenges we are facing as a people, what the status of those interventions are, those policies. We have one-time premium payment is not going to work. We started with, just in the area of health, we started, for instance, with capitation in the Ashanti region as a pilot. What are we learning? What should Ghanaians expect going forward? On the economy, the traditional challenge has been, you talk of single-digit inflation, we are not reaping the benefits of it. We are not seeing interest rates and lending rates come down. We want government to explain their understanding of this disparity and what going forward is going to be done. That would constitute a legitimate State of the Nation address. But to just scratch the surface and indulge in self-praise, which in many of the cases were just not factual. They were just not factual in many of the cases.
So you were expecting him to have gone into details about what how the economy is performing sector by sector. Was that what you were expecting?
No, I was expecting the president to deal with the big issues. In an address like that, you are unable to explain everything that government is doing. But you should be able to tell us the state of affairs on the big issues. And on the economy, we know broadening the tax base so that we would realize more revenue to provide social services is one of the big issues. What are the interventions to make that happen? We were promised in the large budget statement that that is going to happen. Now, we want to know what tools were and where we are so that people can contribute to nation building. We didn't hear any on, and I've just made a point about single-digit inflation and the benefits we need to realize in terms of cost of living lower, stabilizing, and also lending rates coming down so that businesses can borrow, expand their businesses, and create jobs. We want to hear the president on those big issues. On health, we want to know the National Health Insurance is a major health delivery intervention for the country now. Now, this government came in with a promise of a one-time premium payment. It would appear that the government no more believes that that is workable. The government has resorted to what they call
capitation.
They started with a pilot in the Ashanti region. What is the status of that major health delivery intervention? You cannot have a State of the Nation address that is so quiet on all these and is just saying we have done well, unprecedented achievement. I think the president could have done better. I don't know, maybe
I've heard some who have described his or his address today as brilliant, although it was short. And some would even argue that, for instance, he probably didn't need to go so much into details because we are just coming from an election season where most of these issues were addressed on the campaign platform. He's put them out there. Because ideally, this is supposed to be an account of his stewardship anyway, isn't it?
Well, it's the State of the Nation's address. Now, I would not dispute even those who say it was a brilliant speech. It was. You can expect that people who are within the president's camp in the NDC would come out and say it was fantastic. You can expect that the opposition would come out and say he did nothing at all or that he could have done better. The important thing is that in the end, whether brilliant or not brilliant, a State of the Nation address must deal with the issues that are dear to us. When we tackle those issues, some of which are technical, then the technical people and the investors out there can connect with us, pick up those opportunities that exist in our economy to invest and create the jobs for us. As a people, when we know the difficulties, we know how to reorganize ourselves in order to confront those challenges. So whether it is brilliant or not, whether it is what, those adjectives could always come, and I would understand and a presidential government spokesperson who says it was brilliant. I can sympathize with an opposition who say it was not. But I, in many respects, are a technical person. I want to get answers to those basic technical issues.
Okay, so when he talks about 40% of over 4,000 school trees having been replaced, and also about the fact that capitation grant for school and school feeding programs have been expanded, does that at least match up to part of what you expect, addressing the technicalities?
It doesn't. You see, it doesn't, because when you say, well, we'll remove schools under trees, and so what? what were the interventions, or what were the consideration and arrangements that made that possible? Going forward, what do we intend to do? You see, once you begin to go into those details, it becomes more difficult, especially lie. Once you need to tell us what has given rise to what, where the money, the resources came from, and how going forward, if you're not careful, you get exposed. But as for a flat statement that we have removed schools under trees, we've done so well. Against, just before the election, when critics asked that we want to know those schools you've removed under trees, a list was published that included schools that already existed. And the Presby leadership came out and said certain schools you have included there are actually not schools under trees. So when the president repeats those things here, it just tells you that we probably are still not serious with dealing with the basic challenges that confront us. And that for me was my disappointment.
Okay, let me just pause you there for a moment. Sorry, but Alhaji has joined us. So since he's in a meeting, let's get to speak to him so that he can go back to join the meeting. Good evening to you, Alhaji Day, and thanks for joining us on Joint Caucus.
Fine evening. Thank you very much, and greetings to your cherished listeners.
Okay. Let me start from you. Were you in Parliament today? Did you listen?
Yes, I was. Yes,
okay,
I was.
So which means you followed the President's address. What are your initial impressions of the President's address?
Well, I think that is a very good presentation, and I think it touched what matters. But for me, what is remarkable is when he made a point that all of us are representative of the people of different type. In other words, whether he's a president or we are the MPs, we are all being elected by the people, put in one canoe. And either we all sing together or we sail ashore. And for me, that is more remarkable in his speech, and that brings the unity of Ghana. And also the issue that when it matters, we Ghanaians normally rise to the occasion. And that was an example like when our late president died. We all did it and go. For me, that is more remarkable in the speech.
But Mr. Kwarteng with me here in the studio doesn't think that the president addressed the technicalities of the issues that mattered most. Do you agree with that?
Like what? What issue? The issue that matters for me is the issue of unity to Ghanaians, the unity of purpose, the unity of one concept, the unity that we can all do we cannot leave anybody, the unity of inclusion. And for me, that is what matters. And he addressed that one in the simple language of all being one canoe, in the simple language that we are all elected as Ghanaians for a purpose, and all of us must see to that purpose. And he cited that by showing the canoe as example. And for me, that is what, again, they want you to say more than that.
Without a doubt, that was one of the main highlights of his speech. But for instance, he talks about 40% of the over 4,000 schools under trees having been eliminated. Kweku, for instance, wants to know how they were eliminated, what went into the elimination of these schools under trees, for instance. Don't you think that it would have done us all some good if the president
to stand there at that place to show the schools that were eliminated under the trees, for God's sake?
Well, but at least you have listed some of them.
I wasn't expecting that the president standing at the parliamentary chamber there to just enumerate or show the example of the schools that were eliminated. That is not
well, probably not to enumerate them, but to tell us what went into them, how they ended up being
let me tell you one thing. Remember that when the MPP government increased the duration of all the secondary schools, even not to schools under 3, that is to 4 years. When we came and brought to 3 years, we still have to concern ourselves with that 4 years because the legislature, we couldn't have changed it. And therefore, we have to build infrastructure for all the secondary schools in Ghana to increase for it. Oh, you have forgotten that. And I think it's a small thing. You think that is not a major job that has been done by the government, that you shouldn't give them credit for that?
Okay.
When schools were sleeping in their dormitories, some were not even having a place to sleep. Within the short term, this government have to cater for all these secondary schools in the country, which have a duration of 4 years to do. Please, for God's sake, let's give credit where it is due.
Okay, hold on.
And let's stop playing partisan politics. And that is one thing I think he also said it. We are partners in development and not partisan. I mean, these are things that I think we expected from a president, that unify the country.
Okay, hold on for me, Alhaji. I'll come back to you quickly, but Kweku, Alhaji Day believes at least the president addressed the issue that mattered most, unity, for instance, where he says parliamentarians should be partners and shouldn't work on partisan lines.
Well, good evening to Alhaji.
Thank you very much, my dear brother.
To begin with, unity.
Hello?
Unity, is it a new value we are finding? How many times are we going to tell ourselves that we should unite? And are we disunited?
Okay, he's just addressing the issue about unity that you raised.
If we have the opportunity to listen to the #1 man of this country, the state of our nation, what are the opportunities available right now? What are the challenges we need to deal with? And as you said, you focus substantial parts of the presentation on unity. And I ask, what was that supposed to achieve? That is the point. So it is not a bad idea, but I think, yes, unity and preaching unity, we've had enough of it. And we are not disunited as a people. We want to be informed about how the president is making our lives better. As for things like partnership, not partisanship, the president has to demonstrate this in his deeds. Because how many times haven't we heard leadership from all sides of the political divide saying we need to work together, we need to be united? What Ghanaians are looking to see is not the rhetoric, but how you take steps to make those things happen. I read it on the net just before I came here that the majority, for now, they are the majority in Parliament are saying they are even not going to let the second deputy speaker go to
that is speculation. Let us not speculate as at now.
Yeah, that is okay. I'm going to make a point going forward that if the president means that, he must step forward and say, look, in the name of unity, this thing must happen. If the president could be doing those things, I'm sure Ghanaians themselves would judge and say this president means well. But if it's just going to be the rhetoric as we have always heard from all sides, all political leaders, our churches, everybody, we need to work together in unity. And you have the opportunity to tell us how you are making our lives better, what the status of the interventions making our lives better. And you go on about unity. I'm saying it was not a place for it. There was too much of it. A few sentences congratulating us for how we handled our departed president and how we would have been fine. But this going on unity. I think it's been made a substitute for dealing with the real issues, and that worries people like me.
Okay, so Alhaji, there you have it. He thinks that...
Yes, but let me come here. I think the president enumerated, when he started, he said he's going to talk brief. Summary of our achievement, and he tell, but the details are there that we should. He mentioned in a Greek what we achieved in the health sector, in the education sector, which you are aware, unless you want me to enumerate it again. He did that, summarize our achievement in the economic macro sector. Of course, we know that macro sector is directly, you may not get the benefit. For example, if inflation is reduced, if you stabilize the CD or whatever those economic macro factors, it takes now for the micro one to gain from the macro factors. And he mentioned all these things. What again does he want you to do that he did? And after that, he talked of the unit of the purpose in a different way that all the others used to say it. As far as I'm concerned, what does he want me to say more than that?
Okay, but Alhaji, some have argued that this is the state of the nation address.
In the agric, you want me to say that achievement we had in agric, and I'm sure it will tell you that most of inflation coming down is from the agric factor.
Okay.
If you go, it's the packaged foods that have got the inflation down. Nothing more than that. And everybody will benefit that at least we have reduced importation of the rice by 50%. It's a great achievement. So what can you say about this? You go to the education he's talking about, a lot of infrastructure has been built in education. We have increased the university. Are there not facts? Are there not achievements? You come to the health sector. We have built a lot of hospitals. We have improved the training of the medical field, this and going on. What else do you want him to talk about that?
Okay.
Alhaji, quick question.
Our president is not a man of many ways. He believes in action and he talks what is going on.
Okay, Alhaji, well, Kweku has a question.
Those sort of people who always come to stand for 2 hours to talk, though it is 32 pages, but he summarized it within about 45 minutes. he has said all that he needs to say.
Okay, Alhaji, let me come in here. Kweku also has a question. I'll let him ask you. But some are saying this is supposed to be the State of the Nation's address. The president did indicate that he will be back with a fuller version when he next meets or next addresses Parliament. But I'm saying that this is a State of the Nation address. The president did indicate when he started that he will be brief. And when he finished, he said, or towards the end, he said that he will give much fuller accounts when he next presents the next State of the Nation's address. And some are wondering, why wouldn't he just give us the full picture as it is now?
He said that he will be brief, but the details are there. And the details are there. Go and take the 32 pages and read them. You go. You will get the details there. They are there.
Okay, Kweku also has a question.
Even though he said that he may do it in another man's time, but he has the details in the 32 pages. Go and get that document. And he made it clear that the Hansard of the DC Parliament should capture the details, which he has said. But he will summarize. And I think that is a decent thing for any president to come and bore us, reading the whole thing up to 32 pages.
But you'd agree with me that not everybody will be privy to getting the parliamentary Hansard to be able to see the full details of the state of the nation. We are all going to get the copy.
It will be in the internet. It will be in the papers. All Ghanaians will have the privilege of reading it.
Okay.
Why would he have to then stand and spend more than 2 hours reading it there at Parliament?
So for you...
That doesn't make sense to me. And I think I like this sort of presentation. It's one of the brilliant presentation. He didn't bore us in Parliament.
Okay.
I thought we should applaud the way he has presented it in a short way for us to close Parliament. Then we can go and read the details.
Okay.
And we have any concern in the details, we can then bring them out.
Okay, Kweku, Alhaji believes that the summary for Parliament is better so that the rest will get the details from the Hansard.
It is not saying something here and we getting the details from elsewhere. Let me just present this to Alhaji. You see, all the things you do in, say, agriculture, the investments in maize production and all those things, the Ghana Statistical Service reviews them and they tell us the rate at which we are expanding the agricultural sector generally. What I'm holding in my hand, for instance, is a document from the Ghana Statistical Service. In 2008, agri grew by 7.4%.
Alhaji, just hold on for us.
In 2009, quickly.
Okay, then let's. Alhaji needs to go back to his meeting. Okay, so let's take your final words then, so that you can go back to the meeting. If you say that agri in general, though statistics reveal that agri is dropping in relative to the GDP, all is because agri composed of even the timber sector. And the timber sector has been depleted in Ghana. So when you go, this is the reason why, but when you go to the food crop specific, you realize that we have increased in production. Please go and find out that out. And that's the reason why when you go to the relative to the GDP, agri sector has been dropping, because the timber contributes a lot to agri. And the timber has been depleted in the country. Now that we are trying to go to our forestry to plant and go on. You know this very well. But when you go to other sectors like the livestock, like the food crops, etc., you will see that they improve and great increase in the agri sector. Okay, Alhaji, before I let you go, finally, there was lots of expectations from at least our viewers as far as the messages they put on our Facebook wall were concerned. They were expecting to hear the president talk about where next he expects to take the nation, but that seemed to be absent in this presentation he made to Parliament. Are we likely to see that or hear that when he next comes to Parliament in a month's time?
No, come again.
I'm saying that a lot of our viewers, at least, as far as the messages they put on our Facebook wall was concerned, they were expecting to hear the president say what his plans were when he takes office finally from January 7, 2013. But it seems the expectations were not met per the presentation he made to Parliament. Are we likely to get a hint of where he intends to take the nation when he next addresses Parliament?
Well, just as you mentioned, I can assure you that you'll hear it in the next sessional address, which is about a month or about a couple of weeks to come.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you, Dr. I'll meet my, he's one of the best. I prefer very much. And we will come to the studio. Let me apologize for not being able to come to the studio because of the meeting I'm holding. Okay. Next I will be there and I think we'll have a lovely discussion on the studio. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Alhaji Abubakar Ade is the NPP for Salaga. Kweku Kwating is still here with me. He's the NPP MP elect for Obuasi West. But let's take a quick break. We'll be right back so that Kweku and I will continue with the discussion here in the studio. Stay with us. This is Joint Caucus.
Quality TV.
Welcome back. This is still the Joint Caucus here on Joy News on Multi TV. In the studio with me is the NPP's MP-elect for Obuasi West, Kweku Kwating. And earlier we were joined on the line by Alhaji Abubakar Day. He's the NDC MP for Salaga. But Kweku, let me come back to you. You wanted to make an intervention, but Alhaji had to go.
Yeah. That it is very easy for politicians, myself included, to say, we did this, we did this, we did this. And of course, every government would do a number of things. Just mentioning those things, for me, should not constitute good performance.
So what will constitute good performance?
We have an institution that reviews all the things government does and informs all of us how we are performing, so that we know where we have to change strategy and we know where we have to deepen strategy. Now, the Ghana Statistical Service provided us with data. In 2008, our agric grew by 7.4. There was a slowdown in 2009, 7.2. There was a further slowdown in 2010 to 5.3. In 2012, agric expanded by 2.6%. You want to hear from the president, and the technical people should educate and inform the president about why this negative trend. That is what I call the State of the Nation address, that agric has been underperforming consistently, and the evidence is there. Why is it so? And what is it that what have been the remedial measures? What is the status of those measures that the president could do in just a couple of paragraphs? I am saying that a State of the Nation address that does not capture such important elements of our economy is improper.
Well, he may not have highlighted the decline, but he did highlight some successes that have been chalked in the agri sector.
No, that is precisely where I'm going to. When you have this decline, and Alhaji said, oh, it is only in forestry and logging that we have been deteriorating. Yes, we have been deteriorating in forestry and logging. We need to understand why. Two, he says, if you look at crops, we are doing well. That is untrue. In 2011, crops expanded 8.6. 2009, it climbed to 10.2. It deteriorated to 5.6, to 5.0, further to 3.7. Now we're at 5. If you look at the other sectors, subsectors under agriculture, you don't need anybody to tell you that things are not going well. We want the president to acknowledge this, but instead of that, this is what we got under agric. Our domestic maize, Madam Speaker, agriculture has received a major boost under the Better Ghana agenda. Our objectives for enhanced and sustained efforts agricultural mechanization and is to quicken blah, 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 and it goes on without acknowledging the setbacks we are seeing and telling us how we want to come out of that. Because if I gather from this, it means the president is satisfied with the NDC's performance over the last 4 years, and going forward, strategies will not change. This trend would continue, and agric is going to come to a standstill. On the others,
but at least you did mention SADA in there, and we know that that's one of government's initiatives aimed at helping SADA.
SADA?
Yeah. We do. The government has said that that is one of their initiatives for helping at least the agric sector. So
the northern parts of the country.
Exactly, in the northern part. So if SADA is mentioned, that is part of the interventions that we're expecting them to.
Has SADA received all the resources it ought to have received? If not, why? Going forward, do we intend to scale up the resources into SADA? These are questions that must be addressed. It's not sufficient to say we have brought SADA and we are improving the lives of people. Look, on the economy generally, the president did mention that we are receiving unprecedented, the highest levels of growth. If you go to the evidence, in 2008, without oil, we expanded this economy. Expanding the economy means the volume of economic activities being generated. We expanded that by 8.4%. In 2009, still without oil, we dropped to 4%. As we got oil on stream, 2011, and that is what they call record high. We got 14.4%. Half of that came from the oil sector, the new oil sector, and half came from the traditional economy. So one would have expected that the benefits of the oil will be used to foster further growth. In 2012, the provisional projection by the Ghana Statistical Service is that we do 7.1. If the president comes and says, oh, in 2011, we had record high growth, without telling us that it is because oil founded by, discovered by under the previous administration came on stream and we got 14.4. Since then, a year later, we are doing less than half of that. You would want to hear from the president why that has happened, and going forward, why that would not continue. If the president just focuses on the record 14.4%, we are growing at a record high, when that is not true, when you know that that was 2011 with oil coming on stream, and that now we are performing far worse than we did even in 2008 when we did not have oil. Shouldn't the president acknowledge this and give us the assurance that he's on top of that problem and that going forward, he has interventions to arrest the decline? When I see this, and I come here, and I see, Madam Speaker, GDP figures were very high in 2011 and better Ghana agenda, the feeling it gives me is that going forward, the decline will continue and the people will be worse off. My own thoughts on what has happened is very similar to, it also illustrates the way Alhaji came in. There was a certain desire to use the State of the Nation's address to say, yes, we are doing well.
But isn't that what every government usually does?
We are not discussing what every government does. We are discussing what going forward would make people's lives better. We are,
but isn't, like you said, you need assurance,
I agree.
and the government will assure you that they are doing well.
You assure us that going forward,